So on the battle between Bolsonaro and Lula da Silva, I guess we can score one for democracy and one against the rise of authoritarianism and fascism that we have seen in recent years. I had used this graphic in the beginning of October in an astrology class in which I surmised that this would be the outcome, that Lula would win because of the problems in Bolsonaro's chart. You see that he has a T-square, or pardon me, a Grand Cross, formed by Mars, Pluto, Saturn, and Venus, and during this period in his life, the Saturn-Uranus square in the sky is activating two of the corners. This is not the kind of alignment you would want at a critical moment like this, because it tends to deny your success, which is what in fact it did. Notice that the Taurus part of his chart is his midheaven sign, and the Aries part is his zenith. Both these signs are essentially critical towards success. They're places of career, and Mars rules one of them while occupying the other, and Venus rules Taurus. So therefore both those planets are absolutely connected to that realm of experience, and having Uranus and Saturn in this alignment is very unhelpful in the context of seeking a political victory at this time. Now the counterpoint would be to say that he has been on a Jupiter-Sun conjunction. This would have happened earlier in October. However, as the voting was happening in Brazil, Jupiter had moved back into Pisces, which would likely make it less helpful. Although I have a feeling that even Jupiter on the Sun might not have been enough to overcome the problems caused by this Saturn-Uranus square activating his Grand Cross. In the case of Lula's chart, you see that I've drawn a chart with a birth time. However, this time is actually in doubt because the data doesn't seem to be solid. There are even two different birth dates for this guy. So counting on getting solid information from his positions isn't a great idea. However, you do see some interesting patterns that would be true even if you were born within this range, regardless of day and time. For example, the fact that Neptune is in late Pisces and is therefore making a trine to his Saturn-Mars conjunction. This is very helpful toward popularity winning the day, which in this case was a very close call. He won by a couple of points, but it was enough to get him over the finish line. You can also speculate by pointing to the fact that since he's a Scorpio, with Mercury in Scorpio, Saturn is going toward Pisces by the spring. This often happens in victories like this. The upcoming cycles suggesting a period of ease, a period of enjoyment of victory, are reflected in the event that happens a few months earlier. And when Saturn enters Pisces for this chart, it'll be trining his Scorpio planets and his Cancer planets, which actually happen to be linked very well, especially the Saturn-Mars toward the Mercury, and Saturn being trine the Mercury at birth does lessen the stress of a Saturn square, which is what he's going through at the moment. However, all that said, there still isn't enough in this chart to suggest that on what is known, you could predict that he would be able to win, but there is enough negativity in Bolsonaro's chart to suggest that he would lose, which amounts to the same thing. So in summary, let's score one for democracy on this victory by da Silva, provided of course that the very Trumpy Jair Bolsonaro doesn't decide to do something a la Trump, such as mounting an insurrection or some such thing to try to append the results. And in fact, I would be very surprised if Bolsonaro accepted his loss without complaining, because first of all, it's the way he is. People like Bolsonaro and Trump have the same playbook, and in their worldview, either they win or the other side is cheating, or they just make it up as they go along. But More specifically, in astrology, when you see a Uranus-Saturn square, aside from the denial that it can bring about, mostly through the Saturn, the Uranus tends to be a very rebellious type of energy. So it's possible that we haven't heard the last of it in regard to this election. But let's hope that one way or the other, Da Silva emerges victorious in the end.